Hi, I'm Kristen Davis, and I want to know, are you a Charlotte? Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in this week. I'm very, very excited because this is our first director we're having on. It is Allen Coulter. He's an amazing director. He came on in the second season of Sex and the City, and he directed, I believe, 8 episodes. He had, to me, an incredible effect on our overall show. He changed the visuals. He changed the way that we kind of interacted within a scene, in a group scene. For me as an actor, he really just gave me so much confidence, and I was so much more at ease when he was directing. I learned so much from him. And he also, the way that we got him is that he was already directing The Sopranos. He was on their first season, and then he continued on with them. So he was really just like one of HBO's key directors, and we were incredibly lucky to get him. And we're incredibly lucky to talk to him today. He's going to share with us so many just incredible tidbits of details and how he created scenes. And it's a joy. So today, technically, we are rewatching 4 Women and a Funeral, but he also directed Take Me Out to the Ball Game, The Awful Truth, The Freak Show, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, What Comes Around Goes Around, one of my all-time favorite episodes, Cock-a-doodle-doo, Defining Moment, What Sex Got to Do with It. I mean, wow. Wow. Love Allen Coulter so much. Enjoy, you guys. Allen! Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Thank you so much for coming on. I have wanted you to come on for many reasons. Number one, I enjoy you so much, as you know. Number two, what I have been rewatching, because I watched like when the initial show would get delivered to us on the VHS, but I've never rewatched. So in rewatching, I have even more and deeper appreciation for your contribution as a director.
Oh, well, thank you. That's so nice of you to say. It really
It's true. It's true. I can tell in Allen Coulter. I mean, for me personally as an actor, I learned so much from you, which I think you were aware of. Like you had a big impact on me.
I didn't, but I'm glad to hear it.
Oh, you didn't know that? Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I mean, I think for a couple of reasons. I think number one, something about your southernness makes me feel at home. So there's that. And then you had such, like when I watch an episode that's one of your episodes, I can tell immediately because of the way the camera moves, because of certain elements of the visuals. And I feel like I can say this. I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn, but I think all of our work is more relaxed. There's a relaxation.
Great. That's really lovely to hear. That's what I hope, you know.
It's true. You made us feel comfortable, and I feel like we're less kind of performative. I mean, I know it's a comedy, and sometimes you need an element of performative, but it's less, and especially for myself, which I'm my own worst critic. And then one of the best things that you ever taught me, and I think the rest of us as well, was to talk fast and walk slow.
Okay.
That was a big lesson in a show where you walk and talk.
Yeah, that's right.
I bring it up now on the new show with our new cast members. We quote you. And you know, the other thing that we quote, sometimes if we're working really late, which is not as much as in the olden days, we say, cock-a-doodle-doo. Do you remember?
Yeah.
So you're still with us, Allen. You're still with us in so many ways.
That's so great. Well, I actually went back, and because of this, I went back. I had not seen the show probably since it was released, and went back and watched it. And I was really pleased, first of all, just how well the show plays still. And of course, it's getting like The Sopranos, it's getting another life, you know, different ages. And my wife Kim was watching it, and she was saying it's great. I mean, it still plays. So that's really a high compliment to all of the involved, all of you and Michael Patrick and Darren and so on. But
absolutely,
it really does. And you were talking about your own worst critic. I'm looking at you like, really, you couldn't do better than that. But there were a few things I really liked. I will say that there were some moments that I thought. And there's one with you and Kyle just sort of sitting. I think it's when you've kind of finally gotten together and had sex, and I just remember you're sort of sitting against a wall.
Yeah, that's good.
It's a nice scene, just two people just talking. And there's one with Sarah Jessica and Chris when they're sitting on the bed. It's after they kind of you think they're going to get back together. He's got the red wall,
right?
And then she just says, they kind of look at each other and just says, he says, I like living alone. And she's like, and she said, that doesn't surprise me or something. But there's just a quality that I was real pleased with. I just thought
Absolutely.
just
Yeah.
sitting, just sitting quietly talking. So,
I think those things are amazing. And I also feel like one of the first episodes that you directed, there's a scene with Kim, with Samantha, where she is with a man who's younger and he's telling her, like, what, you must be 40. And she goes in the bathroom and she looks at herself and then she comes back up and he's all chained up in the
oh yeah,
closet, and
right.
which is of course a shock. But you do this cool thing with the camera. It's not a very big bedroom, but she walks out and she doesn't know where he is, and she's looking around, and the camera moves around her just in perfect harmony with her look, which as an
Uh-huh.
actor is not that easy to do, right? And it's
Right.
seamless. And then you both
Right.
land on the door at the same time, the camera and her face, like you're behind her. It's very cool. And that's the kind of thing we did more often later. But I think that's because you brought it. You introduced that to us.
Well, that's it's funny. I'm glad you're saying that because, I was thinking, what happened for you guys probably, I don't know how much y'all knew what was going on, but I was doing The Sopranos and I was finishing up whatever the season was, probably the first season maybe. And Michael Hill
Yeah.
came to me and he said, we're going to start season 2 of Sex and the City, and I'd like for you to come and try to bring some style to it. Because I had noticed it looked like a sitcom kind of.
So true.
And so I said, sure, I'd love to. And I remember, this is my memory of it. You guys may have
Oh,
felt
I want your
completely
memories. Yes.
but so when I showed up and everybody was just like a sponge. Everybody was just like, what do you want?
Oh,
My reaction was everybody, all of you four knew that things were not working the way they could. And so consequently, here comes a new guy in the door. And everybody was so like eager. And I did something. I just wanted to kind of, and as the more I directed there, the more I loosened up too and did more. But I remember, doing things like, and I'm just thinking about this. There's a scene where I just said, I'm not going to try to stage this because it was too complicated. So what I told each of you was, just get to that person for their line. I don't care where you go, and I'll go with you. And so I just turned you guys loose, and I think everybody just sparked to it because it was kind of like theater.
definitely.
And then, somebody would carry the camera over and just in time to land on the other person who picked up and then took it back. But it was had a great quality of just random people talking, and you each found some reason I said, find a reason to go over to that person at that point.
Yeah. That was hard. I mean, I think we really love to be challenged.
Yeah, it was fun and exciting, and we got the shots a lot quicker than if we'd had to set up on each one of those
Oh
moments.
my God, yes.
So that was fun for me, was just to say, how can I help break this out of what it was? And I was left alone, which is another great thing. I mean, I just was like, I don't think there was anybody on the set. I mean, the writers might have been, but they didn't say a word.
They were often upstairs early on, like
Yeah,
Darren would be upstairs and Michael would be upstairs. And if you needed them, they might come down. Whereas later on, they would be there. Like if it was their script, they would be sitting there, which they are
right.
still now. And now, they're like they're very much present. But yeah,
Yeah.
I do remember that. I mean, I remember so many things, but I remember, of course, we worked all night, very frequently. It was a
Yeah.
challenge, but we were younger.
I was used to that from The Sopranos.
Got it.
Doing
Got
like
it.
8 hours.
Right, right, right. So when you went to The Sopranos, just to refresh my memory too, because I don't know, I knew for sure that there was a group of directors from The Sopranos that HBO really loved, that they wanted to come to us. And of course we were thrilled, right? We were like, yes, yes, yes. So you had been over there on the first season with Sopranos. Then you came to us second.
That's right. I started with the college episode when he takes his daughter to college.
Oh, like the best episode ever. Oh my God.
Yeah, that was, and so, and then I did, David, at that point, when I still remember when it happened because it was such a life-altering moment. We were shooting on location, and he came on the location and walked up to me like 10 in the morning. And he said, I just seen the dailies. I want you to stay on. I've got one other episode free, and I want you to be the producing director and oversee the other directors. And so I was like, okay. And so I came out of that season having done a couple of episodes, and I think it was right after that, rather than the second season. I'm pretty sure it was right then that then I just don't remember how we segued, but I
Right.
remember I was done, and then I just kind of almost literally the next day
Oh,
uh,
wow.
felt like it anyway. I don't know what it really was.
I mean,
It
yeah.
was yeah, and then I came in and this the timing was such that I could come in and work with the four of you. And that was and I have to say the mood was great. I mean, you everybody was in great spirits and excited and I think it was fresh, as far as the writers, it was sort of a fresh approach with Jenny and
Yeah.
Michael and I guess it was trying to remember the other writer was I think maybe Amy.
Was Amy? Yeah, Amy would have been there by that point, and I think soon Cindy comes, Cindy Shupak.
Yeah, that's right. That
It's like
sounds right.
we added a woman like every couple months. We got a new woman, and then they were part of the
Jenny was
fold.
there. I remember that.
Yeah,
My closest relationship was with Jenny just by
yeah.
serendipity. I mean, and she is pretty hilarious
I
herself.
love Jenny. Did you go back and forth between us and The Sopranos?
I did for a few seasons, yes.
Wow.
So I did. I think I did 4 episodes at first because I actually directed the first 4 episodes. What happened was I was hired to do the first 2 episodes to try to set the tone, but very quickly they said, "Why don't you just stay and do the first four?" Which I did. But the fourth episode, which was four women and a funeral, they pushed to air as the fifth episode. It wasn't
Right.
the fourth episode,
Right.
but I directed the first four, and I think very nicely other directors came in and went, "Oh, we can do this," uh, so I remember running into John Coles and he said, saying, "Oh, so we're cutting loose a little bit." I said, "Yeah, and so then I went back to Sopranos, and then I somewhere along the line I got free, and I came back for season three,
Right.
where I did like the Freak Show, which I really
Oh,
liked.
yeah. The Freak Show. We've already seen it. Season 2. Yeah, it's really
Yeah,
good. It's so great.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's right, season two.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think you were around season 3 too.
I was on three. I did. I think Cockadoodle Doo. What goes around comes around, and
Oh, a great episode. Oh my God. One of my all-time favorites.
I like that one. I just watched that. That was one I felt like it has also one of my favorite shots, which was, I mean, not to
No, tell us.
praises on myself, but I just happen to like it. Well, first of all, I really love the scene between Sarah Jessica and Bridget Moynihan
Yeah.
when Sarah Jessica apologizes, and then Bridget very quietly says, "Okay, are you through?" And then she proceeds and really lacerates, Carrie, just quietly. Uh, and I remember talking to Bridget because I got a very nice note from either Bridget or her manager after that, because I think she had a different, she was going to be really angry and stuff. And I just said, no, you know what? Don't do that.
Right.
Uh, my favorite direction, don't do that. And got her to really just quietly deliver that really devastating speech. And and I got a very nice note from either, as I say, either Bridget or from her manager, and it was, made me realize that it really worked for her.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, right after that, there's a shot of Sarah Jessica that I really like, and it's the very last shot of the thing. And God bless John Melfi. I had been playing a piece of music when I shot it because I had this feeling about it, and he went out and got the music, and it cost him a fortune.
Oh.
She just walks toward the camera. She's wearing this New York Times dress. It's at
Oh, yes. The Dior.
yeah, and she's walking toward the camera, and I found a position on Park Avenue so that I could look through the car windows to see her. So you
Yeah.
get this little moment where
Oh,
the
it's so
cars
good.
seen through these cars, and it's kind of dreamy and sort of poignant in a weird way,
Yeah.
and it says so much about New York, both because of Sarah Jessica and her character Carrie, but uh, also because the dress says the times, and you've got the taxis going through, and the traffic, and it was just everything about it. I thought it did what I'd hoped. One of the things I'd hoped to do, and this is the cliche of all time, but when I came onto the show, I just felt like New York was kind of missing, and
Oh,
I thought it should really be five characters, the
yeah.
four in the city.
Yeah.
So I was looking for ways to show that, like on Cockadoodle Doo. This is one of those things that only I know, or now you, and I presume nobody's listening to this, but
No, it's just us.
just us. Uh, but I start that episode with a miniature version of the largest woman in New York, and I end it with the largest man because it starts with a
Oh,
Statue of Liberty statue about this big, and through the show you come back to it, and at the end it's the Empire State Building.
oh my God. Amazing. I never realized that.
Well, it's one of those things that I think directors do that just for their own amusement. But I kind of like the idea. So
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. I think you're doing it for your own amusement, but it's adding layer upon layer upon layer because you're putting so much thought into the shots and how the shots are moving and the characters and like shooting through the windows. That was so powerful, but people don't always necessarily think about it. But that's the joy of directing is that you're influencing the whole storytelling.
well, I think you hope that they feel it. But
Yeah,
people rarely recognize it. And that for women in a funeral, one of the things that I did, again, very subtle, but I put it in there whenever I could, was I liked the idea of kind of slightly diaphanous curtains blowing. There's something about that
I
to me
noticed that. Yes.
symbolized the,
It was
ghosts.
beautiful. There's a shot
Yeah,
of Sarah at the window. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it was how you had our guys light her, but her skin is just so beautiful. And she's looking at the window, smoking, I believe, and the curtains are
yeah,
blowing in her
right.
face. And that was something we just hadn't had that layer of kind of emotion in the shots
Well,
previously.
that's great. That's great. Yeah, and also because it's the atmosphere of the city, and I think I ended on curtains. I think the last image is she's in bed with Big, and the camera
Yes.
goes past them and goes toward the window, and you see the curtains moving, and so
Yes, it's so fantastic. And this is the funny thing to me too is that people think, or people in our business, I guess, or I don't know, sometimes even on the podcast, I think people have said that television isn't so much the director's medium. People think of it as being the writer's medium, right? More so. But if you really think about our show, where I feel like obviously the writers have a huge, huge, huge impact and are very
sure.
present, but the directors, those of you who came with a vision and like for whatever reason felt the support to do what you wanted, which thank God, right? HBO was great
Right.
at that. You know, you
That's
really made a change that lasted, whether you were directing or not. You changed the way that we perceived that we could be.
Well, that's great. That. In fact, I just saw a little piece of just when I was looking at these, and it was like the opening of a season 4 or 5, and Michael Patrick directed, and but I didn't know who directed it,
Uh huh.
and I was like, wow, that's got great energy. Just the way he does the shots. It's this rapid little series of shots that carries you into the scene. And I thought, well, good, because that's what I would have. I would not have done that. I
Right.
have no idea what I would have done.
Right.
But that's exactly the show I was trying to say to plant a flag in that show and say this is where it can go. And I
Yeah.
just thought that he did a really masterful job of saying, okay, we have this freedom and this kind of language, I think,
Yeah.
uh, that has been established. And of course, my dear friend Timmy Van Patten,
Oh,
and, yeah,
Timmy.
and so he did the same thing. Is that those directors that have some vision,
Yeah.
I feel like we're given this opportunity, and
Absolutely, absolutely. And for us, I mean, that's why it's so great to talk to you too, is that, I'm so curious about what you guys remember, but also, to look back and really think about, oh, here's where the show kind of jumped up a level. Like we were there and we were eager, as you say, and we were just so excited that it got picked back up. We were obviously had some sense that it was unusual. We never would have dreamt that it, lived the life that it has lived, obviously. But we were super excited, as you know. But you need a vision and a leader and different perspectives to come in to bring life to it.
that's right. That's right. And yeah, it's right. And I think that I have to say those first few seasons were really fun because there was a spirit to the show. I mean, I think at a certain point, as what with The Sopranos, I just ceased to be able to. I just didn't have the room on the schedule because then I started doing other things, and after you've done, in my case, 4 seasons and a little bit of the fifth season on Sopranos, and I think I did. I think I shot something in season 4. I'm fairly sure I did on Sex and the City, and
Hmm.
then I just didn't have the bandwidth.
Of
I was
course.
started doing pilots and stuff.
Right. But we want that. We want you guys to succeed and do bigger and better and get paid more and whatnot. You know?
Unfortunately, that happened. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was. And I was just thinking about. Well, I will tell you this though. Actually, this is perfect because you have a part in. You have a definite part in an allergy that I have, and it started on four women in a funeral. And what it was because I didn't have this before. And then if you remember the scene where you show up with the lilies and you beat
Yes.
the lilies, and we did a bunch of takes of that.
I do remember.
That instant, I became wildly allergic to lilies, and
I'm
I
so
can't be.
sorry.
I
Oh my God.
never thought I'd have an opportunity to say, "Hey," but uh,
I remember that day so well. Like, obviously we spent many a day on the set, right? And sometimes I don't remember anything. Like I'll be rewatching and I'll think like, I have no idea what I'm about to do because I don't remember this. But then some days I remember everything. And I remember that day really well because I think we were in Harlem at a graveyard and it
yeah,
was raining and raining and raining and it was cold. And
yes, it
I was
was.
not supposed to wear a coat. And I was like, I'm a Southern girl and I like the heat. And I was begging Pat for a coat, but Pat didn't want to put a coat on me because she liked the dress. And it was, she has her vision. I get it. But I was just like shivering, and my feet were soaked. I ruined my Manolos. And those were the first pair of high shoes that she had got me in. They had to go to the cobbler and get like totally redone because I had to climb up a hill. Like I
Yeah,
think,
that.
yeah, to hit him maybe or after.
You had to kind of charge up this incline to.
Yeah. It was muddy. It was ick. When you watch it, you can't really tell. I mean, you can tell that it had rained, in the magic of cinema, right? But you can't tell that it literally, we were sitting there waiting for it to stop raining. And I remember the girls came after that to do the actual funeral where the hat blows off, which is so fun.
Yeah.
And I hadn't really remembered all that. And I remember I turned to Sarah Jessica and I was like, I'm freezing and I've ruined my shoes. And I just blah, blah, blah vented. But I just felt that was one of those times where I was like, man, it's a challenging job.
Well, it was that day, that's for sure.
It was. It was.
Yeah.
It really was. But I look at it and I love it. You know what I mean? Like I think one of the things as an actor you feel when it is like a physical challenge in the environment is that you're somehow not going to be good, that it's taking attention away from the actual work or whatever, but it's fine. It's good. It's great.
Yeah. No, it was great.
Yeah.
Well, watching Cockle Doodle Doo last night, and I was watching, and I watched as you get to the end of that, and there's the roof party, and
Yes. Oh my God.
which was really it's a very sweet scene. It's kind of all is forgiven by as they are referred to in the show, the trannies, and it may not be appropriate nowadays, but
Right. No, it's definitely not.
yeah, yeah. But that's what the characters' names are,
Exactly. Right.
basically, or that's the group is referred that way.
Right.
But what's nice is it's a very sweet scene, and
Yeah.
everybody seems to be having fun, and Sarah Jessica gets up and does a little thing when
I remember.
requested, and then the camera leaves them and goes back up to the Empire State Building, hence
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
the moment. But when I was watching it, I found myself a little bit touched. And the reason was I thought, well, the scene is sweet for sure. But it's also just because I remember that day and I thought, oh, that was, 20 plus years ago and
Yeah.
life was different then.
So different.
The world was different.
Yeah.
And so there was something about that, just seeing that scene that entered into the personal where I was like, oh, yeah, that was,
It's
and
true.
and then you guys did, I don't know who did this, somebody in the art department, but there's a scene where you guys you're down in Soho,
Hmm.
and I think you can go to a party, a fraternity party, I think. Maybe it's just
Oh.
Kim and it might have been just Sarah Jessica and Kim. It's because when Sarah Jessica, it was where Kim, his character, Samantha gets involved with a young college kid from
Uh-huh.
Texas, supposedly.
Uh-huh.
And But I noticed at the dormitory, I mean, I didn't notice it until we were really shooting. And then I look and see it's called Coulter Hall. It's like, who did this?
I love it.
We
That's adorable. We had some fun little inside jokes, didn't we?
did. It was a very sweet deal. And being there, Silver Cup, and I mean, yeah, it was just, I mean, it was a great deal, I mean, it really was.
It
So,
was. I'm so happy that you were there. I mean, it's also that's part of the reason I wanted to do the podcast. There's a couple reasons. One is it does hold up well, as you said at the beginning. And there's this whole new group of people who's watching it on Netflix, and it's so exciting. And obviously, they think some things are crazy, right? Because it is a different time. And then some things are a complete, current conversation being had, on social media or whatever. And then also, I just love to get everyone together and hear everybody's memories. Because for me, it's incredible, our entire history. It's been so amazing. And back in the beginning, we didn't talk about things kind of, like I think we felt like when you would do press, it was more presentational. It wasn't necessarily, we wouldn't tell so many stories about behind the scenes. I don't think people knew so much about production really in a way.
sure.
And so it's a way to kind of get everybody's like personal memories and weave them together into a quilt of like, what was it like to actually create the show, by all the different people. I mean, that's what I'd like to do, at least. That's my goal.
It's a great goal. I really,
Thank you. It's fun, isn't it?
yeah, it is. It's fun. I did what is it called? The Sopranos podcast.
Yeah.
Talking Sopranos, yeah, with Michael Imperial
Yeah.
and
Love it.
Ripa. And it was just the same thing. It's just a blast to
Love
kind
it.
of go back and the different kind of funny memories and stuff like that.
Okay. So, as I said, this is what you brought up also. It's so beautiful, Sarah, in the window. And I think, because we've had the voiceover and then we used to have the talking to the camera, right? Which was like so awkward. And at
Right,
this point, it's going. I don't know
right,
if it's totally gone. It shows up in weird moments, but it didn't show up in this one, thank God. Because as we know, Sarah Jessica did not really enjoy it. She wants to stay in the scene, which totally makes sense. But when we began this show and the curtains are blowing and she's smoking and you're hearing her interior thoughts about the funeral, like it has such a depth, to it. Because
right,
I had not remembered this at all. I had not remembered that the funeral, I hadn't remembered the way that the funeral tied into her relationship with Big, that she literally thinks, am I really living life? What am I doing? And that's why she
right,
calls him back, which is,
right.
I think, so relatable in
Yeah,
so many ways. Life is passing, people pass away, and you do think like, oh my God, am I actually living life? Like it's a real valid question. And I had
I,
forgotten that I fall in love or whatever, lust, whatever, like with the widower, that all those things are tied together, which I think is also kind of one of the things that the show is starting to do successfully that it didn't really do first season.
yeah. I think that's. I mean, I watched very little of the first season because honestly, it was like, well, that's just not that interesting to me because it really didn't have a look to it, and it wasn't really as focused. I mean, it was finding itself. In fairness,
Definitely.
itself. I mean, if you see the early Simpsons, you go, it looks nothing like the show now.
Right.
So, in fairness, it takes a while to find a show and find it.
Definitely. And I would say that the main thing of how the first season looks is dark. You can't even see us. You're like, where are they in the nighttime? It's so interesting.
Yeah, that's,
You're just like, what? Well, are they there on the street? I'm not sure. I mean, there's a quaint, like a kind of nostalgic, quality to it. Cause it's sometimes also we're in the village and it looks just nothing like the village looks now. You know what I'm saying? Like it's empty.
yeah,
It's fascinating. Yeah. But that's one of the things that I noticed in your episode, in this particular episode, and also Freak Show. Freak Show, Cynthia is lit so beautifully and you're so close on her face and all those scenes that she's doing
yeah.
about talking dirty. And it's just so, there's something so vulnerable and young about it.
Yeah.
I don't know how to put it, but it has a sweetness at the same time that we're talking about these kind of risque sexual things and whatever. There's just like a vulnerability of being like inside these women's lives.
I agree with you. In fact, Kristen, I was thinking that I had this thought last night. I thought, you know what? What's interesting about the show is it's extremely innocent with all of this sexual, focus, and some of it, well, none of it's graphic, but it's all pretty. You can't miss what's going on.
Yeah.
It's oddly innocent, I think.
I think you're right.
There's something sort of sweet about it. It's not really mean-spirited at all.
No.
And uh, and even when somebody is kind of a dupe, or like Freak Show, those guys really do
Yeah.
not. No,
Yeah.
they're funny. I mean, and you may remember that we lit them like I mean they and Michael Patrick, I'm sure, must have done it. They bring in this kind of a freak and this music that sounds like a carnival.
Yeah. Do, do,
And
do,
I had
do.
them
Yeah.
light them, that so that each one of those is lit to look like something in a carnival.
And it's scary, yeah, but sweet scary. I think some of that, and this is what I love, and it's a little bit sometimes hard to talk about it, but I do remember in the first season, as actors, as actresses, we were unsure of the point of view of the show, right? So, like, we knew that we were these women and that we were going to talk about sexuality, but when it came to time to do a sex scene, was it like from the male perspective? Was it supposed to be titillating or was it supposed to be realistic? Or like, were we going to make our female viewers uncomfortable? There were questions that we had as actors because it was so different. It wasn't like in
Right.
film, there was a lot of sexuality, but it was very much from the male gaze in terms of like titillation and not necessarily realistic and all of those things. And we were definitely changing that, but we didn't really know what we were doing in the beginning. And what I see now, by the time that you're really establishing your look, is that, and I think this is a powerful thing and it's kind of intangible, but the way that you film someone can be from a perspective of love, of like interest, like curiosity, which is how, like, especially the Cynthia in the Freak Show, you're so close to her, but she has no guard. She's so brilliant, obviously, but she has no guard up. Like, her face is so open. But that's something
Yeah.
that you can only create on a set with like a love and a trust
Hmm.
that the
Hmm.
actor can feel that way and that we trust the camera crew and that the director, you in this case, is someone where we know that we're taken care of.
Well, that's good. It's interesting because I do try to. I mean, I've never worked with what do they call it? With a sex, the person they now have this role.
Intimacy coordinator.
I never worked with one, and I hope I never have to, frankly.
You don't need to, Alan. It's other people who need that. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, I've shot more sex scenes than probably any of those people will in their lifetime,
Yes.
and it was always about finding just making sure that the actors are, having. I would always talk to actors before that. I don't remember Sex and the City, but I'm sure it was no different. And just to say, look, this is what we're going to do. I wouldn't
Right.
chase everybody away and just have a quiet conversation to
Right.
make sure there's no awkwardness or anybody was uncomfortable. But I will tell you what is the line that I've said many a time because I think it's really right. Someone once said, and I don't know who said it, everything is about sex but sex. And and so I kind of follow that guideline. In other words, when I shoot a sex scene, I'm always, and that was true for Sex and the City for sure, which is what is this scene really about, and how can I show that? So in that case, it was about Cynthia's innocence and her delight, almost like a child discovering something that she could do that she didn't never occurred to her that she could
Yeah.
do that and actually embrace it, so to speak. But it was about that, not about the dirtiness of what she's saying or whatever, however one perceives that.
Right.
And you made me think about, and there's comical sex scenes. I mean, the one with when Samantha has sex with this college kid, and I sort of treated it like a rodeo, like he kind of does some of these things that the guy would ride if they're riding a bucking bronco, what they would do. And so, that was meant to be comical. A lot of them are comical.
Right.
But one of the ones that I'm thinking of, the point I want to make is that there are not a lot of serious sex scenes in that show,
True.
generally.
Yeah.
Um, but one of them, and when they are, I'm not interested in the sex. I'm interested in suggesting what the feeling is of that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of, I guess I'm trying to remember if it's one. Oh yeah, four women and a funeral. It ends with Carrie in bed with Big.
Mm-hmm.
Camera really just brushes across them. It doesn't really linger on that at all. It has a very sensual look. You
Oh,
can
it's
see,
beautiful.
yeah, but there's nothing. It's just what's happening, but what the scene is about is this is a quiet, intimate moment, really intimate between the two of them, in which the camera is just simply going on its sort of sensual path past them to kind of, and the movement of the camera is meant to kind of emphasize or underscore maybe the sensuality of the moment as opposed to the sexuality. It's skin on skin in a very intimate and meaningful way, but it glides past them and toward the window where once again you see the curtains blowing,
Right.
and it's also kind of going out and it's heading toward the New York night where others are making love at
Right.
that same, you know. So
Yes, beautiful. And it's so, Sarah Jessica is obviously rightly so very always concerned with any kind of sexual scene or nudity question or anything. And she's not easy to trust. And I think that's wonderful, especially because she's playing Carrie. And that is one of the few scenes where she's very at ease and you get to see skin. It's not salacious in any way. It's
no,
sensual, as you say. And that's because she trusted you, which is,
right.
incredible because it adds so much when she does choose to show something. You know what I'm saying? It has more impact.
That's great. That's great. I
Yeah.
loved her story. I just was thinking there one of the things that I really enjoyed on Freak Show was the thing when she becomes the freak. And I
Yes.
remember, and I intentionally had her uh, have the cigarette in her mouth the whole time.
Yes, it's so good. It's so funny. It's so funny because now no one smokes, right? Like
I know, I
you're
know.
literally like a serial killer if you smoke now.
I know. Never takes it out of her mouth, and she ends up. And I said, "Get up on the bed," So she's
Yeah.
standing on the bed, so she's really not doing anything right at that moment. She's standing on this guy's bed to break into his private collection of
Boy
Cub Scout
Scout badges, right?
badges, right? And with this cigarette, so she looks kind of like I don't know, I don't even know how to say it. Like she's just some tough broad from
Totally. Yes, she does. She doesn't look like herself at all. It's true. And that makes it all the better when he comes back in.
yeah, exactly.
So, Alan, obviously, we have so much to talk about. We are going to come back, you guys. Hang in there with us. We're going to talk about Four Women and a Funeral.